very good addition to your resume, and it will stand out. It will definitely stand out. Uh, Also, apart from that, when it comes to the spirit of open source, you will be you will get acquainted with an organization, you will be acquainted with its project, and you will see things from a different perspective, and you will uh, be included in this open source community. And working in an open source project on that scale is a very learning experience that will help you even in your future career. It's not just about open source, it will help you in your career as well. And also you can get job offers from people who view your work when you the work that you do as a GSoC contributor or even as a open source contributor. uh, that is why GSoC is really important. Like it's one of the most hyped up programs, I think, when it comes to students, developer students. Fine. So some terminology before we get started with the real thing. Uh, so organizations in GSoC, organizations come. Okay. So basically, they are supposed to be these groups of people who make projects that are open source, and these projects are actively maintained, at least most of it, by contributors who do that for free. They are doing it out of their own goodness, or because they're employed to do it. There are a lot of companies that employ people to do open source, but regardless of that, they are doing it out of some motive. But at the end, it is like they do not get anything out of like any financial benefit out of open source directly. So people do it for free. For example, one of the biggest projects in open source is Linux. So for example, like every day approximately thousands of pull requests come into Linux source repositories, and a lot of code is being changed on a daily basis. It's almost like a scale that you cannot imagine if you cannot see it for yourself. And stuff like this is on a very large scale. So when you are working in open source, you are no longer restricted to your community or like a small like group of people. Your code will be viewable and like viewable by everyone across the globe, potentially across the globe, and it can be criticized by people across the globe. So it needs some confidence to put your code out there. But anyway, so organizations are people who work uh, usually for the greater good, and they give out projects, and these projects are really mostly they're pretty good stuff. It helps a lot of people, and it has been created for a specific reason. So if you are the target audience, you will feel that it is pretty helpful. Then comes the contributors. The contributors are basically you people if you get selected in GSoC. So contributors are basically the applicants who get selected in GSoC, and these contributors work for us amount of time. You maybe short, maybe long, but they work for a period of time uh, under the GSoC program, under the mentorship of someone, and then they basically complete the task and they get a stipend in return. So now I mentioned mentors. Mentors are basically people from the organization that you are working with. Uh, so these guys are pretty much working for free and out of the goodness of their heart in a way. And they are basically out there to help you get started. They're not there to do your job, they are there to guide you in case you get stuck somewhere, or if you need some help in learning uh, or getting started with learning more like. or basically if you don't know where to proceed from some place. So they are there to guide you. They are not there to hold your hand and like lead you along the path. They are there to show you the path. uh, I think that's basically it. Organizations, mentors, and contributors. These three things uh, are the like most confusing part of GSoC. If anybody wants to know about them, uh, so let's move on. So timeline. GSoC recently released the timeline on Friday regarding the 2024 GSoC program, and it's a pretty good timeline in a way that it has a lot of gaps in it. Like it has a lot of time in it for you guys to prepare and do stuff in various sections of the timeline. So I'll be telling you some sort of tricks, you can call it, to get started with GSoC, because it's like, I mean, if you do hard work, it's good, but you need to have a like directed hard work. So you need to do sort of smart work, but not exactly smart work. It's like you need to have a direction to your hard work. So I'm here to give you that direction. So let's look at the timeline that GSoC has given out. uh, I'll show you the timeline. I'll give you the link in the chat as well. Yeah. Just tell me if you can see this uh, screen. Can you see the screen?
No, भैया,
Yeah. No?
it's not visible, भैया.
Okay. Is it now?
Yes,
Yes,
Priya.
भैया.
Okay. So this is a timeline that Partha has given the link to it in the chat. This is the timeline that was released on Friday, and basically it gives you the various timestamps on where like stuff will happen. I'll guide you through the timeline. I'll guide you on what you should do at various stages of the timeline. Fine. So yeah, just a second. Yeah. Yeah. So time before start. This is basically when like even before this time, before January 22. So now you guys have like it's November right now. You will have exams in some time, and you will have a very good vacation. A month is pretty good for like preparing for GSoC. So you will have a month uh, to do whatever you want, and this is the best time to get started with learning what you have to do. So before January, basically in December and some bit of January, you have to do a SWOT analysis. So, uh, SWOT analysis. Nice. Uh, Fine. Basically, you have to list out areas in which you are good at. Fine. And you have to list out areas in which you are comfortable. Like there is a distinction between areas where you are really good at and areas where you are comfortable with, and then you have to list out areas in which you can work on, like you are interested in, and you can work on it. Or you like areas basically where you want to do stuff but you haven't done it yet. Fine. So these three areas are really important. For example, let's say someone wants to do web, right? And he's really good in, let's say, Android development. So he will put Android as in the in like area where he's really good at, and web in the area where he wants to do stuff but he hasn't yet started. So these three areas are basically like
Yes, we can
will
start now.
help you decide what you need to do or what you want to do. So before start, right before this part, you need to analyze some stuff. I'm giving this link. This is a site that lists organizations that have come in GSoC for the past few years. I think the oldest is, yeah, I think the oldest is 2016. Yeah. So if you can see this, for example, take 52 degree north, and these guys have been coming in GSoC for like since 2016. I think it's pretty, yeah. They have come for every year till 23, and so this will help you basically decide the organizations that you need, that you should have an eye out for. For example, like, for take this for example, 52 degree north. If they have been coming for the past like 8 years, if they have been coming for the past 8 years, then it is a very good chance, then there is a very good chance that they will be there in 2024 as well. uh, it's very rare that it stops right here, but like, they will probably come in 2024 as well. And you need to look at organizations that have come for the past 5 years. So if I take this, yeah, if I take these five, these will give me the list of organizations that have been coming for the past, like the most recent 5 years of GSOC. This will give you a pretty good idea on like the various organizations that are almost guaranteed to come in GSoC in 2024. So now, out of these, I mentioned to you about the various interests that you have, the things you are good at, and the things you are comfortable with. So now you need to go inside one of each of these organizations. For example, let's take this 52 degree north, and you should have a look at the projects inside it. Uh, yeah, this is a very interesting graph. I'll come to it later. You should have a look at this, the projects, the past projects, and these will give you the details for the projects that were selected by 52 degree north or any other organization as well. And basically, you need to go into more details, and you need to look at the stuff that they did. Fine. Now it looks like pretty complicated stuff is going on here. But if you boil this down, they're developing some services uh, and configuring API and creating a like REST API over some API. Yeah, the problem statement thus asks to create a web front end to create, read, update, and delete the JSON settings with REST API. So this is a very simple project. This is the main sentence of the whole thing. But anyway, this is a very simple project. If someone is interested in web development or even app development, they can look into it. And you can add this to the various, like, you can mark this with the various fields, like various classes that I mentioned. So uh, if someone is like really good with web backend development, then he can uh, add this project or this API to that, like label it with that group. So why do you need, like, you might have the question of why should you do this? Because this is supposed to be a list of projects that have been done, right? This is like the work on this has already been done, so why should I even bother with it? So this is basically done because uh, in open source, if you do implement a new feature, then there is a very high possibility that there will be some other features that need to be implemented on top of it, um, or even like in the same project. So for example, you know that there is this project called Faro, and they require work on it. So you can go into uh, their GitHub. So if I go to GitHub T2 degree not, yeah, I can check on the various organizations, various projects in this organization, and I can match the stuff that needs work on and the stuff that they are willing to put out in GSoC. For example, Faro is an example here. Uh, Faro. Yeah, this thing probably, yeah, Faro REST UI. So now you know that this thing is out there, and they are willing to put this out on uh, GSoC. So you can go around looking into these, and you can basically look into this repository. For example, let's say Faro REST UI. We take this, and you can take a look at the uh, tech stack that it has. Now, if this tech stack is something that interests you, or you are comfortable with, or you are really good with, you should mark it like you should mark this uh, project in the suitable category. Fine. Then you can go on for like some of these. Like if this interests you, then go further into it and check the tech stack. Uh, if that tech stack is something that matches one of the three categories, then you know what you have to do. Because if you are really good at it, you can just go ahead and read the code. If you are comfortable with it, you can try reading the code, and if you are stuck, you can look around in Google or something. And if you are interested in it and you haven't started out yet, then you know the technologies that you have to learn to get up to that, like to get to the level of reading that code. uh, so this is the graph of the number of people that have been selected year wise, and this is a pretty good indication of how many projects that will get selected in a year, because a usual trend is that it like keeps on increasing, except this part, it usually keeps on increasing. Yeah. So this is something that you have to do before the start of the timeline. And so now let's uh, take a look at how you will, like, basically after you have gone through all of these organizations, you will have three categories: one that you are interested in, one that you are comfortable with, and one that you are really good in. These three categories will have projects, and it may have tech stacks with it. Fine. So now you need to pick 3 to 4 projects that is like that catches your eye the most out of each of this category. 3 to 4 out of each of this category, or 3 to 5 as well, how many you want, like pick some. uh, and then start learning the stuff required in it. Now I should warn you that anything before the actual list, like anything before around February 22, will be pretty much speculation. So if you learn something, that then it's not really guaranteed that you will be using it. But at the same time, it's better to prepare in advance than like wait for stuff to happen. Because for example, if you take JavaScript, if you learn JavaScript and you learn the various packages and stuff built around JavaScript, then even if one project is not being put out in GSoC, the other will surely like there will be some others out there which will surely use JavaScript and similar technologies. And also uh, a skill like that will not really harm you. Fine. So yeah, after doing that, you know what to learn and you know what to look into. So there will be code bases related to the projects that you need to look into, and there will be tech stacks that you need to learn. uh, And then of course after that Google is your best friend. You can go around looking into Google, and you can check the repositories of these organizations to learn more about the code. And I think, yeah. So this is when orgs haven't even started yet. Fine. So yeah, orgs start joining. This is this period from February 6th to February 20. So uh, now February 6th and February till February 20 is when organizations will uh, give their proposals for the projects that they will want, like they want GSoC to host, and the project ideas that it will have, and basically the stuff that they want contributors for. Now another interesting thing is before February 6th they will usually have the list of projects and projects ideas ready. So like, because if you are going for an inspection, so like let's take a project evaluation for example. If you are having a project evaluation, you will most likely have the project ready before your evaluation date. So same goes for organizations. They will have the list of projects and projects ideas ready before February 6th. uh, and you can find that list on Google because it is pretty much publicly available, because again open source is based on public like public transparency. So let's take 52 degree north as an example, because this is the first organization that keeps on popping up here. So I hope Google will work. Yeah. Mm, yeah, fine. So 52 degree north. Yeah, GSoC 2024. Yeah, this is how you search it. Fine. 52 degree north, GSoC 2024. This is basically the organization, GSoC 2024. If you write 2024, it's most likely that you will get the page for the 2024 project ideas and project list. So if you click this link, right, you see the name GSoC 2024 project ideas. They have already put out the list. This is one of the earliest organizations to put out the list, but the others will do that in due course. So you should keep an eye out for them. For if I click on this, yeah, project ideas for Google Summer of Code at 52 degree north in 2024. So usually this will not change because they do need to like prepare this for a uh, like evaluation in a way. And like, so after February 6th this will not really change, but before February 6th usually a lot of open source organizations like finalize this and then create this page. So like if this page is created, then it's a very good chance that this will remain, like at least 99% of it will remain the same. uh, so before February 6th, a lot of organizations will have their 2024 projects out, and you can then browse around and look into the various topics that are mentioned here. There will be an interesting observation that I'll show you. So yeah, take this page 2024 and take the 2023 page. So I'll go to the 2023 page. mm, this of 2023, yeah. You have to look around for the various links, like it won't be presented for you. So yeah, this is the 2023 page. So now if you look at these uh, OGC API clients and servers, APIs processes clients and servers, API feature clients and servers, and so on. Now you look at the 2024 page, you will see the exact same thing out there. And this is because of a lot of reasons. So a lot of the times there will be people that so there are a lot of projects that are very generalized. So for example, these guys want APIs in R, Python, JS, Java, and this. So if, like, let's say in this summer, uh, Python gets, like, the Python API gets implemented, then the rest of it will still be available for grabs. So it will be on you to take it up if you want. Uh, but some other cases will be that for example, if these guys take in a GSoC contributor for, let's say, this project, and that guy is not able to complete the task, then the rest of the task, or with some addition to it, it will be available for the next GSoC as well. So you need to look into the past topics, the past project ideas, and the work done on them, to know which one of them requires further work. These ones. So for example, yeah, Python client for OGC maps API. So if you see, uh, Python was implemented, the other stuff is remaining. And yeah, Python clients for OGC APIs. So yeah, uh, stuff needs to stuff needs contributors, right? So they either it will have a very generic topic, it will require a lot of different projects to get it completed, or it might be the case that a contributor couldn't finish his work, and this leaves the next contributor, the contributor for the next year, to pick it up and complete it with maybe some additions. So these are all opportunities that you should look for before even this time. But anyway, so before mentoring organizations are start their applications, you should look into the various project ideas that they have put out in Google, or basically put out in the internet, and you can view them through Google because they're publicly available. And this will help you get a jump start into the various project ideas and topics that an organization puts out. So okay, fine, let's take this as an example. Yeah. So the elite club is announced. This is the part where organizations have been announced. This. So this means that whatever the project ideas have been published, and whatever the organizations that have been listed in the GSoC page. So the GSoC page is something like this. Yeah, if you go to the home page, you will see. Yeah, this will look a bit different for 2024. This site changes structure when, like, at the various stages of GSoC. But so after the organizations are announced, you will basically see these two buttons: view 2023 project list or view 2024 project list, and then you will see browse all 2024 organizations. If I click on this, it will give me the list of all of the organizations that are participating in GSoC. And then if I click on each of them, let's take BRL CAD. If I click on this, it will basically give me a short introduction about this. It will give me a link to the source code repository of this organization, and it will give me the topics of the various projects that are being done, like that they want help with, and the technologies. So now you have your by this time I hope you will have your classification of the various projects that you did the before this section. So now you can filter it out even further, because now you know the concrete list of projects that are announced. So now you can like trim it down further, or you can add stuff as well. If you find out anything interesting, you need to look into uh, quite a lot of these organization. There are a lot of them, 168 organizations. But if you want to trim it down further, you can search it up. For example, JavaScript will give you the stuff that uses JavaScript. uh yeah, this. So like that. uh in like a small tip, you should sort it by A to Z or Z to A. That will help you basically keep a record of it if you want, because random will basically randomize the order every time you up- come into this page, or like any additions to this will change the order. Anyway, so if you sort it from A to Z, you will get the list of organizations, and you can go into each of them and like check the project lists. So this view idea list will take you to the page with the ideas, and this will be the idea that I gave you the tip about searching in Google before even this period starts. So yeah, this will be the 2023 project ideas. Is my voice audible? uh
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yes, Bhaiya.
I thought the like net was kind of down, but okay, fine. So yeah, this is kind of like before this period, before the organizations are published. This is all like the everything that I told you was for like is an anticipation of what you will do when mentoring organizations are announced. So this is like all of it is an anticipation. You are preparing for what will happen using some smart tricks, or like basically the past experience or whatever of the previous contributors. You are basically trying to prepare for what will happen. None of what you do here is concrete, because it's like it's based on probability. It's basically based on a chance. Like there is a chance that this organization will come, there is a chance that this project will be put out there, there is a chance that this project idea will be put out there. So none of it is concrete till before this part. But after this part, you have a concrete list of organizations, and you have a concrete list of their project ideas. Okay. uh so uh, now everyone starts working, in the sense that now everyone will kind of try to do some work. Now what do I mean by work? Basically there will be project ideas, and these ideas, I hope this open. Yeah, these ideas are like of real projects out there. So this let's take Postgres for an example. Think- Yeah. So technologies are C, Python, PostgreSQL, JavaScript, and SQL. You do not need to learn all of them, because this is basically a union of the technologies that will be present in the idea list. So some project might require JavaScript and PostgreSQL, while some might require just C and PostgreSQL, like the project I did. Some might require you to learn Python and SQL, example, like so on and so forth. So there will be some links here, right? So there will be a mailing list link, there will be some chat links, and there will be a website link and guide contributor guidance list and a view id list, a lot of links in here. So what is a mailing list? uh do you guys know a mailing list? If anyone doesn't know, please let me know. I'll go into it. Like, write it in the chat if you do not know it. Just say no. Yeah, okay, fine. So mailing list is basically a list of people uh, that basically form a group over the email. Fine. So like kind of like a WhatsApp group. So you have a GDSC community in which there is an announcement group, and if someone sends a message into that group, it is received by everyone. So in a mailing list is kind of like that. Uh, it's a group in like for email. A mailing list is basically if you use a mailing list, if you send a message to a mailing list, everyone who is subscribed to that mailing list will receive that email. An example of that will be your institute email. The if you have seen groups like UG 2023 to 24, that is a mailing list. So if someone sends a message to that mailing list, it is received by everyone who belongs to that mailing list. So that is a very important means of communication in organizations that are open source, because in open source you will have a lot of email conversations, because they do not really use WhatsApp, because of course over the internet people don't really give out their phone numbers that easily and stuff like that. Email is pretty common. uh, a group over the email is one of the most convenient methods of communication in open source, and is used by almost all organizations. So if you click on this mailing list, it should, yeah, this mailing list is closed, I think. Yeah, anyway. uh but if you go to contributor guidance, this will guide, like a lot of organization have this link to guide you through PostgreSQL or like any their organizations uh like instructions on what you can do to be a contributor. So let's take a look at it. Uh, yeah, GSoC, PostgreSQL, etc., etc. How to communicate. Communication is very important in open source, because it's not like you can just go on and start your own stuff. You can do your own thing, and then you hope to get that merged into the main code base. You need to communicate with people. You need to communicate with the contributors of that organization or that project that you're contributing to. And also for GSoC you need to communicate with the mentor. So yeah, let's take a look at it. This link should let you access the PostgreSQL Slack. So PostgreSQL uses a Slack channel. There will be like organization that are purely on emails, but a lot of them use Slack just to make it a more beginner friendly platform. So yeah, if you click on this link, you can join the PostgreSQL Slack. And there's a note, but anyway, we have an informal Slack channel for GSoC contributors. Yeah. And general guidelines. Feel free to ask questions, set up project, etc., etc., and get to know other fellow contributors. Yeah, stuff like this. You have to go through this in detail. Most of this stuff applies to almost all of these organizations, but it kind of depends on the individual organizations as well. Anyway, so a lot of them will have Slack, a lot of them will have email mailing lists, and you need to join these mailing lists. For example, GSoC has a mailing list as well. So if you go on to this like page, this timeline page, you will see the left has a part called mailing list. If you click on this, yeah, there will be two mailing lists that are there, one for announcements and one for discussions. You should join both of them. Announcements is way more important, but if you have doubts, you can ask your doubts in discussion part. So if you like click on this link, let's take this link, and you will see this page, and there will be a button out here to let you join this mailing list. So if these guys, like these are the Google guys, if they put out an announcement, everyone belonging to that mailing list will be able to like will get that announcement email. So yeah, by the way, if you can see this, 20th year of Google Summer of Code coming in 2024. This was, yeah, on November 10th. That is Friday, yesterday. So this is how we came to know about the timeline being released. Uh, Timeline. These are the changes that I will go over in a bit. But anyway, so you will get to learn a lot about the stuff, and you will get the announcements uh, over email. So you need to be active over email because email is pretty important in GSoC. Anyway, so communication, modes of communication is very important. There is another mode of communication called IRC, Internet Relay Chat, IRC. This is pretty important as well. Depends on the organization. A lot of the organizations don't use this anymore because it's not really beginner friendly. But if there is a case in which IRC is needed, you should know how to use it. So this is all for communication. By the way, you should join the Slack channels of various organizations that you're interested in, and learn to communicate with people that are part of it. So basically, this is a very common feeling that it will feel like you are sort of uh, a person in a party where you do not know anyone and everyone knows each other. It's a very common feeling. And to get started, basically try to ask questions or introduce yourself, or basically do icebreaker stuff. By the way, do not worry about asking stupid questions. As long as you do your research before it will be okay to ask stupid questions. So in open source in general, not just GSoC, or even like in developer ecosystems in general, you should always have a very concrete research uh, before like asking your doubts to people, because if you like, people are not your offline Wikipedia. Fine. So you need to learn to like read about stuff online first. Do your research, Google stuff. Google is your best friend. Google stuff, and then you can ask people if at the end you cannot get the answer that you wanted. So yeah, do your research, and even after that you cannot get your answer, then of course people are there to help you. But it is pretty obvious if you have done your research or you haven't done your research, because like the question is framed in such a way, people will come to know. Yeah. And also mentors are there to help you. Do not be afraid of asking their help. uh, do not be intimidated or like think that it's a very stupid question, why should I even ask it, it's probably wasting their time. They are there to help you anyway. So this was for working. Now a very important part about GSoC is that let's take two contributors. uh in ideas list, let's take the idea list. Yeah, there are a lot of ideas out here. So take this for an example, creating a PG web testing harness. There's a project description, there's a skill needed, there's a difficulty level, and there's a project size, and there are mentors, right? Usually these are all the stuff that is listed in pretty much all organizations. uh, there's an expected outcome as well, but a lot of the people don't really write the expected outcomes. But anyway, project description, you need to read this through, and You need to understand what the stuff says. uh you need to Google stuff if you don't understand it. Like what is CI pipeline? Just Google it. If I do this CI pipeline, right click, search Google. Anyway, you will get a Google search that says what CI pipeline is. But anyway, you can understand the terminology that is used in here. And then you have a skills needed and you have a difficulty level. If you are comfortable with this skills needed, you remember there's this category that I mentioned about being comfortable with. If you're comfortable with this tech stack, then you should try for medium or easy stuff. If you're really good at it, if you're really good at something, then does this have a difficulty level? Yeah, anyway, this also has a medium difficulty level. I do not know if there's a difficulty level hard. Yeah, difficulty level hard. For this you need to be pretty good with these two. So that is where your like groups that I told you about help in deciding which project to pick. uh, Also these potential mentors, you will see them in your Slack channels or whatever ways of communication are there. You can reach out to them. You can tag them, you can ask them in DMs or whatever you want. They are there to help you. Potential, by the way, provided you do your research before it. So skills needed, yeah, this and difficulty level according to the skills, like skill set that is required. You should always aim for stuff that is outside your comfort level, but not too much outside of it, because like if it's too much outside of your comfort level, then you are basically just being intimidated all of the time. But if it's too like it's inside your comfort level, then you do not learn anything new. It should be outside your comfort level, but not too much outside of it. uh, yeah, ask them, potential mentors, you ask them for your guidance, for their guidance if you are stuck at a place. Fine. Now, uh, so you understand all of these project descriptions and skills needed. Let's say you have learned whatever the skill required was. You have become as capable as any of the contributors for these this project. At least you are able to contribute to this project. You feel so. Uh, you haven't started with the contribution, but you feel you are comfortable with the project. So there will be a link to the project repository. For example, take this. Yeah, this is a link to the GitHub repository. If I go to this place, I will see this repository. This will be done in HTML, Python, CSS, etc., etc. And I think this looks to me like a Django website. Yeah, yeah, Django is written here. A lot of the times you do not have to guess it, but it's written here. The PostgreSQL website, technology, content, contributing, and so on. Uh, so now let's say there are two contributors and both of them know how to do this project. So this project like this requires you to do something, and there are two contributors, both of them know how to do this. They have both have their excellent ideas on what needs to be done, and so they write a proposal to it. I'll go to the like proposal writing up in a bit, but they both write a proposal for it. So now the organization is like organization has to select one of them. Fine. There are two contributors for the same project idea, and they have both have equally good project ideas. Now the contributors, like one of them needs to go. uh, so how will the organization decide which one to pick? So then comes the part about making yourself more like lucrative for the organization in a way that like win like make them trust you. Now how should you do that in open source? Basically by contributing to the project. So this is one project. Let's take another project. This one. Yeah. How do you contribute to that? So first of all, tell me if you do not know about Git or GitHub. Just say no. I'll explain it in a bit. Does everyone know what is Git and GitHub?
I think most of them like have a basic idea about Git and GitHub.
Yeah.
Like if still any one of you have any doubt regarding Git and GitHub, you can just simply say like I'm basic in Git and GitHub, and Faya will just give you a summary.
Yeah. By the way, like I'll take this as a sort of checkpoint. Just ask if you have any doubts with what I have said in like the previous sections as well. Like because there has been a lot of stuff that was covered. Uh, if you have any doubt in the previous stuff, then do say. I think you can raise your hand here, right? Yeah. Just raise your hand and then uh, we can go take your doubts one by one. Fine. If nobody has any doubts, then we'll move on. Uh, I'll just say one liners about Git and GitHub. So basically, Git is a version control system. It allows you to put checkpoints in your code, and this will help you basically code in a team because you can put checkpoints and you can merge these checkpoints together. The details you can learn get to get the details about it. It's a very superficial explanation. And GitHub is a source repository that like online source repository or remote source code repository where like you can manage your GitHub like basically manage a Git repository. Yeah, it's done online. So yeah. So we take one of the projects that have been put up by Postgres, for example, and we go to this repository. Fine. Now, before even like moving on to the repository part, you can look at the languages. Now, if you follow my instructions about technologies and your groups, then you know what to expect in here. But regardless, you should take a look at the languages and you should decide whether this suits your interest or not. And then uh, after that, just go on to the issues. So issues is where various problems are listed. It may be a bug in the code or it might be a feature request. For example, if some user wants some specific thing to be like integrated with the project, then they will put a feature request. And if there is an error or bug that happens, then they will put it up there as well. Or it can also be the case that someone doesn't know how to do something and they will put up an issue regarding that as well. So let's go to the issues. uh there's a lot of issues out here. A lot of things needs help. The thing about open source is that a lot of things need help. There is a shortage of developers who are willing to contribute to open source, and you can use that to your advantage. So yeah, is there any bug in here? Community feature. Yeah, there is a community tag here as well. NetBSD support. Uh, this is a pretty advanced code base. I'll go to a bit easier code base just so that you can understand. Uh, let's take, yeah, let's take this or this. Yeah, we'll take this. So this is where I made my first contribution for Postgres. And I think this will be a very good example. Yeah, see, I just made one commit here. Uh, and this will be a very good example because I can tell you how I did it. So basically, I went to the issues. I picked up an issue that was pending. So, for example, Mac OS X support. Fine, we take this. Now, describe the bug. When I install PG Monitor, I'm getting error like this. Now, this guy has given the error. How can I solve the problem? Thanks. Now, this guy has written, like he's one of the contributors. He has written Mac OS isn't supported by the build system yet. All the necessary changes should be here. Can you work on that? Now, this guy probably doesn't know how to do this, or maybe, yeah, yeah, work on it has not been done yet because it's 20, like it was in 2024, 2022, and it's still not done. So, if you know how to add Mac OS support in CMake, then you can work on it. This is one of the issues. This is like the working on the build system. And if you like take this issue, you can work on this as well. Basically, you first need to write like, hey, I'm working on this, or rather, hey, I want to work on this. Is this still available? uh, the contributors really want someone to help them with this, so they will probably reply, they will basically just either say this has already been taken by someone, or they will say that you are free to go ahead. In that case, you can ask them for like guidance on it, like basically ask them where you can learn stuff, or like what you need to learn more other, like what you need to learn to get started with this, because these guys, like, they will be busy with their own lives and stuff, so they might not have the time, and they're looking for contributors that are willing to work, and that is why they're willing to help you get started, because they know that once you are capable enough to help on one issue, you will be capable to work on other issues as well, which they really want. Anyway, so then basically you make a pull request. Like assuming you know how to contribute to this, like you solve this issue, you make a pull request, yeah, like this. You make a pull request, and then your code gets merged. It's really that simple. The learning part is difficult, but then you have the people there to help you get started with that. So this guy is one of the GSoC contributors for Postgres. In like he was one for this year, and this guy is the like owner of this repo, and they will be willing to help you out. There will be other contributors as well. Anyway, so now why am I asking you to work on the repository? That would be because this will help you stand out. Uh, so between a contributor who has just written a project idea and another contributor who has written a project idea which is very good, like let's take the project idea, like solutions to be on equal level for both of the contributors. Let's take one contributor who has actually worked with the code base. This does mean that he will be a more preferable pick because like more acquainted with the code base than the other. At least the other hasn't shown any sign that he or she is like acquainted with the code base. And that means, like, to them it will mean, like, since you haven't shown any sign, that would mean that you haven't done any work with the code base and you do not know much about the code base. So they will most likely pick someone who is comfortable with it. uh So always ask if an issue is available, because there will be people who are working on an issue before. And, like, I mean, it's not an ideal world, so people may not really write it down here. But, like, let's say there was some communication in a Slack channel, or like in one of the channels in Slack, or in an email, like in a mailing list, and these guys have not written it yet in this place, like in the issue, that this is an occupied issue, then working on it will be a waste of time. So you need to know which issues are open, so that is why you have to write it, like, hey, can you please let me know if this issue is taken, I want to work on it, or I am interested in working in it. uh yeah. So always keep that in mind. I think I should show you my own uh, work here. It was a long time ago. Oh, I take this filter. Your pull reg. Yeah, closed. Yeah, this was my PR. I mean, it says closed, but this guy forced merged it. So yeah, that is anyway. Uh, if I go to this issue, I think, yeah, this was the issue. Yeah, I had commented, "Hi, is this still required? I would like to work on this issue." And they replied with, yes, it is still needed, feel free to work on it. And I did work on it. It took me some time. It took me I think yeah, February 22 to March 2. It took me a week, but I still got there, right? So yeah, it will take time, but this is the first step that you need to do for it. Anyway, so now you have worked on the code base, and now you're familiar with the code base, and now you have a very good idea on what should be a solution for one of the ideas that, like, has been put out in this place. Now what to do? You have to write a proposal for that. So GSoC requires you to submit a proposal on, yeah, before this, from March 18 to April 2. As you can see, this is a very short time. So all of the preparation, like, as you can see with the timing of my PR, I did this on February 2, and I got this merged on March 2. So this was around, like, this date, these dates were like similar to last year, like 2023. And uh yeah, like, I did my PR in between this. So this is when potential GSoC contributors discuss application ideas with mentoring organizations. Then the actual application period for contributors begin. Fine. So yeah, you are the real deal. Now explain this to orgs. This is where you write your proposal. This timeline. This is a very short timeline. I think it's about 3 weeks, and you need to write a good proposal. Now, how should you write a proposal? There will be guides on that. Let's take. I think there's a guide for proposals in their own website. I think so. Just a second. Contributor guidance. These guys like, the proposal format actually differs from organization to organization. Some of the organizations require you to do some homework before, like, actually applying. Something like VLC or even 52 degree north. Uh, yeah. think, yeah, proposal, the deadline. Yeah. In a proposal, we ask that you create a list of deliverables, a detailed description, outline your approach, outline your approximate schedule, a document describing a background and motivation. So these guys have not really given a very detailed like format, but they want you to include these in your uh, proposal. Now you should write a proposal based on the format given by the organization that you are applying to, and so like I said, this will be different for all of the organizations, and then you can modify your stuff according to that. And so GSoC actually kind of allows you to give three proposals at a time. Like you are allowed to apply for three project ideas. Fine. These project ideas may or may not be in the same organization, but or like even three, you're just allowed to give three proposals. It's not even project idea, because if someone wants, they can give three proposals for the same project idea. Usually people do not do that, but it's up to you. Now whether it's the same organization or not, it really doesn't matter. It's up to you. uh you have three proposals. uh like make them for whatever you want, like whichever project you want and whichever organization you want. So a good thing would be to like get your mentor to give a feedback, a proposal draft. Now, how to get the feedback? It will be listed like so. We have an internal mailing list that all mentors can read, and etc. etc. Uh, yeah. Anyway, you can directly like ask the mentor to like review your feedback, review your proposal to give you feedback, or you can even post that in the Slack channels or whatever. You might get instructions on how to do that in uh, this place, but it's usually a good thing to like have a communication with the mentor in such a way that you are very comfortable with asking them about feedback on your uh, proposal. Like you should have a pretty good communication with mentor, like even before you're selected. uh During this phase, this period is when you need to have a very good communication with the mentor. So how like it's a good practice to like get your proposal approved approximately a week before it ends, a week before this period ends. And because like it will take them approximately 2 to 3 days to uh get it, like like get a final feedback. uh like it will take them 2 to 3 days to like give you a review of your proposal. And so it might be that the case that you have to modify this proposal even more and then ask for feedback again. So it's better to do like complete all of that before a week of this, like just to keep some time uh till like the end of like the deadline basically, and make it such that the mentor knows that this is your proposal. So your mentor will be the one selecting you in most of the cases. And just make sure that the mentor knows that this is your uh, proposal when your mentor views it, like after submission of it. Like they will be viewing the proposals through the GSoC dashboard, and when they come across your proposal, make sure to leave an impression such that they know that this guy is the one who has written this proposal. Fine. uh So now, so there are three propos like you are allowed three proposals. People usually write two. I wrote two this year. Uh, you should write two, because not more than that, because each proposal requires quite a lot of work behind it. So like I said, you need to contribute to the organization, you need to contribute to the project, and you need to have a very good communication with the mentor. And people, like especially students, don't really have much time to like go for more than two proposals. So you should apply using two proposals. So it's like there is a balance between chance and quality. So like two is a very sweet spot. uh, More than two will lesser the quality of each of them, and less than two will basically kind of have a like reduce your chances quite a lot. So have two proposals. By the way, do not worry if your proposal, like if you're worrying that you will get selected in two organizations, what would you do in that case? You can mention which one is your preference in that case, like in your proposal. Like you can say that this is my, like in the motivation or something, you can say that this is a project that is my topmost priority or something like that, just in case. But usually people are not so lucky or so good enough to get selected in two organizations. So last year only 11 people were even considered by two organizations simultaneously. uh, so 11 out of 47,000, that's a very rare case. But if you're worried, you can write it down in your proposal that some specific, like that proposal is your topmost priority. And because like in the case that two organizations consider you to be a potential contributor, then they will talk it out with each other and they will discuss which one, like which organization gets to pick you. So yeah, that is a very rare case. Anyway, so so let's say you get selected. You now get to work with some of the like contributors of the organization, and these contributors are very uh, like very kind. And most of the time they're very kind because they are there for like because they like open source and they're willing to help people. So do not be afraid to ask for help. And also you will get to learn a lot, quite a lot, during GSoC and even before it. So like all of this preparation that you have done for GSoC, you will learn a lot in that process. And you will learn even more during GSoC when you like communicate with other contributors, you communicate with a mentor, you communicate with other uh, open source contributors, and so on. uh, so yeah, you will gain a lot of exposure, you will gain a lot of knowledge. And this is a pretty big group, like the group of GSockers, and it is a very good group. Like there are people from across the globe, and there are people who are veterans in their field, or like there might be people who are starting out as well. uh, so believe it or not, GSoC is supposed to be for beginners to open source. uh so yeah, there might be some beginners, but yeah, the thing is you need to work quite a lot. So even before GSoC starts, uh a lot of work is done. So you might not be a beginner to like your technology, or tech stack or development in general, but you might be a beginner to open source, and GSoC is catered towards them. In GSoC, unlike something like Hacktoberfest, you need to have the background knowledge for it first. uh yeah, I think I showed this to you before, but anyway, so this is something that I did, and I made a PR for this. Now you might wonder how to even get started with writing a PR. So let's take this repository as an example. The first thing that you have to do is to get this running on your machine. So how do you get this running on your machine? There will be a getting started guide. So let's take this getting started guide. So getting started. First of all, make sure this is installed and in your path using this. So you do not have this installed. So how do you get this installed? You go back and you go down and you can see there is this part about the project, building the project, and you can use this. So compiling from source, does anyone know what compiling from source is? The JavaScript guys may not know, but the compiled languages peeps might. Yeah, fine. So I'll explain. Compiling from source is basically you taking this source code, compiling this into this executable. That is compiling from source. And basically compiling from source in C or most of the things requires you to get some packages beforehand. So this is the list of dependencies or packages that this repository depends on. Like basically it's a code written by someone else, and this repository uses these to like function. So you can use this command. Now if you know a bit of Linux, you know DNF is uh, for Fedora. You can find an alternative for Ubuntu. I'm just giving an example for this specific repository, but it might be different for other repositories out there. I'll show another example in a bit. So these are the dependencies you have to install. This command is given to you, and you can like this is for Fedora, but you can modify this according to your PC. You can ask in the Slack channels if you are really stuck. If you like, first of all, you need to Google. If you are stuck, even after that, you can ask in the Slack channel. So release build, you clone the repository, you go into the repository, you build a build directory, and you execute these commands. These are CMake commands. You do not need to worry about them unless you are going into C++ domain. But anyway, basically this will build your stuff as written here: debug build or release build. So whichever you want, and then you have built it. uh, you can install this, and then you will have installed uh, like in make sure PG monetize installed. Yeah, this will now be installed like before, like these steps will help you install PG monitor, and then you can go on configuring it like it says. And then this is a long list of instructions, but it is a pretty good list of instructions. If you follow these with patience, then you will get this working on your PC. So the first task to get is to get this working on your PC, and then your task is to understand the code. So you can go into SRC. SRC means source. So most of the times the main code files will be in the source. So you go to main.c, for example, and then yeah, you can see the hash includes the functions. uh, in case of open source, a lot of the stuff has pretty uh like explanatory names, self-explanatory names. So if there is a name, like if there is a function called version, it has a name called version, then you most probably know this has something to do with the version of the like utility or project. So yeah, similar to that, like you do not need to learn what is being done inside it. if you can understand what it does through the name. I mean, this might look quite a bit complicated, but if you spend quite a lot of time with it uh, and patience with it, then you will understand what it does. So, for example, let's take usage. It prints out the way to use this utility. Pretty self-explanatory name. So, for example, if you're adding two numbers, there's a function called add. It takes into account these like two numbers. You do not have to know what how or what it uses to add these two numbers. You just know that it will take in two numbers and it will give out the addition of that. So this is how you name stuff in open source or even in code in general. uh, Good coding conventions usually do that. uh, so yeah, pg monitor set proc title would basically set the process title to main. I mean, it sounds pretty easy when I'm saying it, but it's kind of like it if you spend time with it. But anyway, so this was an example of a C code. Let's take an example of, let's say, JavaScript. Uh, is there a JavaScript? Mm. Yeah, let's take a Python example. I'm not good with Python, so let's take it. This one, view code. If you go to the view code, it will basically take you to a link that the contributor has put up. Some of them require you to write a blog, so you can read this blog to understand what this guy has done. Is there a code? Okay, fine. Anyway, github.com. Hmm, yeah, GitHub. You'll find the link somewhere. So take the repositories, top languages. We go into, let's take language. Let's take JavaScript. So we go into, let's say this GeoNode. So this is a repository that I have not seen yet. So it will be a very good uh, intro on how to go about looking into this. So there is a author's changelog, code of conduct, contributing. So this is, you should read this when you are trying to contribute to a specific repository. It will have instructions that you should look into. Make file manifest, quite a lot of things. There is a, what is GeoNode? Try out GeoNode development. Let's go to development. Contribute roadmap showcase. Yeah, quick start. Python env. Yeah. So you basically clone this uh, repository. Then you run this command, and then you run to these two commands, and this should get you started. Uh, let's take a more useful repository. Take this. Requirements. you need git node.js npm grunt. Now you can go into grunt and you can install however they want, and it says get ready to start, npm install this package or clone directly. So git clone this repository, run npm install, and then you can get started with it. Installation and basic usage: check out the code, change to the directory, add the file as dependencies. You can like go on through this instructions one by one if you want, but anyway, so basically you have to find out the basic usage and installation, and then get it to start, and then you can look into the source code. So let's go into src. uh
Hello here.
yeah,
Your screen is not visible
my
actually.
yeah, I just noticed. Yeah, is it visible now?
Yes, Priya.
Okay, so we go into src, we go into web.
Priya, it's visible but complete blank.
Huh? Okay, fine.
Means presently it's showing.
NIT's internet. Let's try again. Is it visible?
No.
Yeah, it is showing that you are presenting. Now it is
Yes,
visible
Priya.
here.
Oh, it is visible. Okay, fine. So yeah, we go into src. There are two folders. Just take one. Let's take web. And okay, fine. Web has HTML. Let's take types. There is a TypeScript file. Anyway, so we go into web again. Yeah, so there's this folder I missed. JS. We go into JS, and then you can see the services. So like the name is WP service. Let's take this. Some variables defined. This is a, I think, class. Yeah, class. This is a class, and various functions defined in it, and so on. You can go on reading this. So like you can take the first file. So like let's take uh, a function, internal function. Yeah. So now I got like went to this get capabilities get. Fine. This is a method, and in that it uses a class. It creates a object of this class. Now I do not know what this class is. You can guess it from the name and the parameters, but you can go into the source code of this class and then check out more. You will see comments written here to like explain what it does and stuff, and so on. So this is how you get started with reading the code base of a like some of a repository in open source, and then you can like start contributing. You will see a lot of issues. So a very good thing about a lot of them is that they mention some issues as good first issues. I do not know if I think VLC GitHub should have some VLC. Yeah, yeah, VLC. Let's take. It does not have anything. Uh, yeah. Uh, let's take this spacey issues. There are no like tabs in it. A lot of the open source like repositories have this thing have this thing called good first issues. So let's take this labels. So you go to labels and you pick this good first issue. you can see it is written as good for newcomers. I, let's see if this has anything in it. As zero, all of them are zero. But anyway, if you come across a repository that has a good first issue labeled beside the issue, then it's a really good chance for you to work on it, because it's supposed to be a it is supposed to be an issue that is like that can be fixed by someone who is a newcomer to that uh, repository. And also, if you are trying to work on a good first issue, there are a lot of people that are like willing to give you a like more of a leeway. Like people are willing to help you out more, basically, because they know that you are a beginner to this repository. If you are trying to contribute to good first issue, so they will treat you a bit more kindly. And they will be accepting of more mistakes because they know that it's supposed to be for beginners. uh I think that was it. I do not think there was anything more that needs to be done. uh do you guys have any doubts? So just tell me. Stop presenting. Yeah, tell me if you have any doubts. It was quite a lot of information. It might not remain in your head. uh I hope someone has recorded this.
Yes, Priya, we are recording
Yeah,
it, and soon
yeah,
it will be released, and
yeah, yeah.
we'll just give it to everyone. I noted down few questions from my side, like
Yeah, sure.
what advantage does hard has over other difficulties? Like, why do we choose hard if we can go for the lower difficulties?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about this. So there are three types of projects in GSoC. Uh, it used to be two types, but from this year onwards, it's three types. There is a like large project that's 350 hours project. There's a medium sized project that is 175 hours, and recently they have introduced like from this year onwards, there is a new type of project like size that is short projects, that is 90 hours project. So the benefit of that is basically like if you're trying to contribute to GSoC, a lot of the people try to like do as much as they can, in the sense that like I said about learning, like you have to go out of your comfort zone. If you are pretty good with, like, let's say C or something, well, let's take a repository that has JavaScript. You're pretty good with JavaScript, and you know this project require like the project idea that this repository has is like it is a pretty basic requirement or something like that. Let's say it's pretty basic for you. You can get this done in maybe a 2 weeks or something. Let's say. And but for someone else it might be quite a difficult task. So you should always push yourself out of your comfort zone. Uh because otherwise, apart from like, if you do not, then you are not going to learn anything. Second, there will be quite a lot less competition in hard projects. So just a warning, JavaScript and mobile, like web development and mobile app development stuff has quite a lot of competition. So it's like there are projects that have maybe 100 to 200 applications, and and then there are projects that have 2 to 3 applications. Now let's take the 100 applications project. Out of those 100 applications, maybe 20 to 25 people, let's say, have an idea of how to solve that project. That may include you, let's say, have an idea of how to solve a project. So they have a pretty good idea on how to do it. Now how will the project, like, a contributor get selected out of them? Now you can think that contributing to the project source code will make a difference. But let's say out of those 25 people, 10 people have contributed, or let's say 5 people have contributed to the source code. So now, out of those 5 people, how will you pick the contributor if you are an organization mentor. So it's 1 out of 5. That is a 20% chance, right? A 20% chance. And let's take a very hard project. Out of 3 people who are applying, let's say one of them doesn't know much, or let's say two of them have a very good idea on the project, and two of them have contributed to the source code. So in that situation, you have a 50% chance. 20% to 50%, you can see the math. Now, of course, you have to do as much as you can to get yourself noticed, and like basically in the sense, like in a good way. And you have to win the trust of the organization mentors. But apart from that, you can see how the competition is going to like affect uh, like the selection chances. So it's better to try for the hard if you can. Of course, if you can, because if like you have 3 chances, right? You have 3 proposals you can give. You can apply for a medium if you are really confident in that medium project, but you should apply for the others to like other two, or like one more, in an area where there is less competition. So yeah, for example, in the project that I did, I think there were only 3 total people who were interested in that project. In the sense, interested and capable of doing that. So yeah, that makes a difference. Also, hard projects have a more like have more stipend. Large projects have more stipend. Not hard. Large projects have around 5,000 US dollars. Medium sized projects have 3,000 US dollars. And I do not know enough about the short projects yet because it's still a very new format. I do not know how much it gives. I don't think they have decided it yet. Yeah, anything else?
Yeah, yeah. So, like, it was my doubt, and if anyone else wants to ask like anything about GSoC, you are free to do so.
Yeah, any other doubts you can ask?
Hello here. So I
Yeah,
now
go on.
ask ki I wanna go for C++ development. So now I'm learning this make file. I've learned a little bit, but I am not getting how to get started with the CMake. So I have watched a few tutorials, but I'm not getting how to start it.
Uh, so the best part about a build system is that you will usually use one file for all of your like most of your like source codes. So I mean, you should understand how it works, but that is not supposed to be your priority. So first of all, you have to learn how to use it. Then like you should go on to the project source code, because you will rarely be modifying the CMake. And CMake is quite complex, right? It's not an easy build system. Make file is pretty simple to understand. CMake is pretty complex. So if you're like, you need to take time and read the documentation. There is no really shortcut way to understand CMake apart from the documentation, or basically it's more like understanding what people use uh, in their own projects. So like if you're trying to contribute to a C++ repository, you can learn what all there is in the CMake list file, and you can learn what each of them does. So also you can use ChatGPT to understand the stuff that is written in there. ChatGPT is a very good tool for understanding. You should not use it to write your own code, because that code will have some issues, quite a lot of issues. But uh, ChatGPT is a very good tool to ask for, like, what does something do. Uh, but apart from that, documentation is your friend. You should basically try to learn CMake as like the need requires. So if you want to do something, you should basically search how to do this in CMake, or basically look into the CMake list that your project repository uses and try to understand it. But apart from that, I really would advise you to basically learn how to use that instead of trying to learn how to write that.
Okay,
That's it.
means I have to look for the repositories, what are the services they are using, and to learn it, not to go for all the things.
Not right now. You should do that eventually, but not right now because
Okay, Bhaiya.
yeah, you should know when to learn what. You should not just go deep into CMake and forget about the rest of the code, because the rest of the code is more important than the build system around it. You can remove CMake and write everything in Makefile, and it would not make much of a difference. But the code is more important, right?
Okay,
So yeah,
Bhaiya, thank you.
just learn how to use CMake. How to use it will be written in the uh, build instructions and usage instructions, or you can even ask the mentors.
Okay, Bhaiya.
Any other questions? Mm. People do not have questions. Yeah, Partha, go on.
I think like if no one have any questions, we can wrap up.
Yeah, yeah. If people do not have any
Uh,
questions.